Kekoʻolani Raymond. I just know her as Auntie Terri. She is a Wahine koa. She became connected with Kahoolawe during the 1990s and actually did go to the island. And I also know her, she's a humble teacher, a great mentor of many, many people, including myself, with regards to this specific topic that we're discussing tonight. She shared with me once that being at the Bishop Museum and being privy, actually being able to see kupuna'iwi, the bones of our ancestors, that it just struck her such that it gave her a deeper, more profound sense of kuleana. When she saw that and experienced that, she was instantly inspired to kokua them and demand justice for them. So, Auntie Terri.
Mahalo to Manu Kayama for inviting me to speak on an issue that is very dear to the hearts of our people in our community, and that is the protection and care of our iwi kupuna, or our kupuna's bones. Yeah. I'll start a little bit with a background. I went to an all-girls Catholic school, Sacred Hearts Academy in Kaneohe. Yes, okay. Our brother's school was St. Louis High School across the street. They were up the mountain, and I was really fortunate when I was at school to join a Hawaiian dance and oli group led by Kumu John Keola Lake. He was teaching at Chaminade. So anyway, he brought many of our young men and women from St. Louis and Sacred Hearts to be in his troupe. So we learned how to oli, how to dance hula, and how to think like Hawaiians. That's how I first met a very important person in my life. His name was George Helm. I met George through our socializing activity through the troupe, and we started talking and stuff, and beginning to kind of get into debates even about politics, and really getting down deep, talking about our feelings about being Hawaiian. So it was a really good time. And George was always very passionate about Hawaiian land and culture issues. Thus many of his mele were about our people and how proud they were as a people. If you ever heard of the song Hawaiian Soul, you get that feeling, yeah? We met, we talked story, and he one day expressed to me that he had a very strong desire to go to Kahoolawe. Some of the guys were talking about going to Kahoolawe. During that time in the beginning, before people started landing, the bombing activity by the military on Kahoolawe was unbelievable. If you were in Maui and they were bombing, guys in Maui, at certain places on Maui could feel the vibrations. That's how bad it was. So there were a lot of people who were beginning to say, that's enough, we've had it already. And so George got together with some other Connie, and the Connie started talking about how do we stop this kind of activity? What are we going to do? They started talking, and they included people like Walter Reilly, Dr. Emmett Aluli, Richard Sawyer, the De Leon brothers, San Kealoha. If you've ever met San Kealoha, he's lots of fun. So they started, the Connie started getting together and talking about what they're going to do. Yeah. And one thing I was learning through this whole thing was that I really didn't know that much about my culture. I didn't know how to oli in the proper way, and I didn't know a lot of the protocols. Even though I was under the tutelage of Kumu Lake, there are a lot of very heavy things that I didn't understand. So I began to take some time to go to my kupuna during my time who were still alive, and going and talking story with them before they wahala. So I made sure to ask some of my kupuna, what's going on? What do we as a people need to do? So I talked to people like Auntie Frenchie de Soto from Waianae, kupuna Sam Lona. Sam Luna was a kahuna Uncle Lono, at the time that I was starting to see him, was occupying Kualoa, the park. He lived in Iolika'a in Haiku Valley on the east side. And so when I decided to approach him as a kupuna, getting something in my head, trying to talk it through with him, and told him that I was considering, going to Kahoolawe, he said, he asked me, why? Why are you going? What compels you to go? And I told him, I think it's a challenge. I'm digging deep. And I told him, I want to be with my ancestors. I want to talk to them. I want to talk to them from Wahine, Going through and talking to the kupuna at my time, I'm so glad I did. I learned a lot from them and how to handle the controversies that was going in my head too, yeah. Now I'm just going to step back a little bit. At the time that I was going through all of this, I was working at the Bishop Museum with anthropologist Marion Kelly. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but her husband was very well known. His name was John Kelly from Save Our Surf. And so I got a chance to work with Marion at the Bishop Museum. She was an anthropologist, archaeologist, and I was her assistant. I was very honored to be her assistant. Now, working at the museum, I was told to work on archaeological materials coming from different archaeology digs throughout the island. And so what I would do is they would bring, like a box, and in it you'd have sand, you'd have all these cultural materials and stuff. So I had to sift through everything and actually catalog, job picture, catalog it, and give all this description of where it was found and by whom, who was the archaeologist, and so forth. There's a lot of detail to it, but I learned from doing the detail. Yeah, working in the museum, there's a place. It's in the museum where they have all of these old cultural materials that they store, and they store them in boxes on metal shelves. So one day, when I was in that room, I took down one of the boxes because I'm curious. I took one of the boxes down, and what I saw from an archaeological dig, and what I saw were human remains. Now, the saddest thing about the human remains, is that they were 5 baby skulls. They were skulls of 5 little babies. They were all in a line, and one of them had to look like they had a blow to their head. There's some kind of blow, but all the rest of them, were just little ones. And I was in shock. I was angry. I went to the head of the Bishop Museum, some of the administrators, and I said, why do you have these human remains in boxes on a shelf? When you folks take these things, do you have ceremony for them? What do you do with them? They said, well, we keep them for future studies, And that's like having some kind of trophy and, using it in the future for your dissertation or something, you know what I mean? So that's when I started really beginning to think carefully about how to change the situation. I had a little bit more courage to confront the museum and the archaeologists as well, because if they take them, there should be some kind of ceremony, and they should also have plans to take them back where they found them, and not keep them as for their studies. A little later on, I went to Mokapu. Mokapu's on the east end. It's a peninsula off of, anyway, Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station is a military base. They took it over, they seized it, during the 50s for military purposes. And in doing so, and in building the base, one of the very first things they did was construct a runway for their planes and for their helicopters, right? When they constructed that highway, the runway, they exhumed a lot of iwi because they built it right on top of a very large burial ground. So people were get a little bolder about saying, you guys, why are you doing this? But that's the history of the military buildup on Mokapu, which is a very sacred place for our people. So I got involved in the Mokapu issue. I went there, and when I went there, I wanted to be sure that I knew what I was talking about. So I walked the whole Aina, all the way through. And I walked all the way to Pu'uwailoa, which is kind of like the mountain top there, and looked down to see all of the beach areas. There's a lot of things that you can see from the top. I went along the coastline and began to walk it. And I just wanted to make sure that I saw for my own eyes what the military had been doing to our kupuna. I mean, to the Aina. And I visited Ku'au. They call it Pyramid Rock. Every time they call it Pyramid Rock, I get so upset. I mean, it's not Pyramid Rock. It looks like a pyramid to you, but that's Ku'au. Yeah. Once we lose the name to places, we lose a lot of our history. You got to remember that. You know, so it's really, really important that we retain and we pass on to the next generations the original names of some of these places. You may not understand it today, but believe me, the more you study, the more you feel it, the more you get connected with your ancestors, you'll understand. It'll come to you. Yeah. So you got to keep your eyes open. So I've been doing a lot of work at Mokapu for a long time. There's a huge burial area. It's the whole beach line on Mokapu. What do they call it? From Ku'au to the north, it is the largest burial beach site in the whole archipelago. Yeah, that's a fact right there. But it's the largest burial area. Yeah, and a lot of people don't know that. Why? Has anybody gone to a military base called Mokapu recently? Have you had any cause to go there? You know, of course not. Besides that, you need to get permission to go. Now, as soon as you go drive up, you have guards there. They're going to ask you who you are, what's your business. You have to register yourself. You have to explain where you're going to be, and in some cases, they have to find an escort for you. And they will follow you everywhere you go on the Aina. Mokapu is a lot of sand, and there's been a lot of sand extraction to use for construction, even the roads. They use sand from burial sites for roads and for some of their housing, their military housing, and I'm not kidding you. There were reports, especially when I was doing more, social time over there, there were reports by military families of seeing, bone material in their walls, And so the good thing is that the environmental department at Mokapu informed the people, if you see anything like that, stop, call one of us at the environmental center, and we'll come and we'll take a look at it, But it's unreal. It's unreal, yeah. And the other thing was there's a old picture of Obama. Remember him? Yeah. Well, it's a picture of him on a golf course they built on Mokapu, a golf course that only military people can use, right? A golf course that is built on a sand dune with our people. So I don't think at the time when Obama was, hitting the ninth hole or whatever you guys call it, that he realized how offensive it was to see him at this kind of a place playing golf, So that's another thing that people, because our people sometimes, our stories need to be told more so people understand it. There's a time when there's silence, a long time ago, when people didn't see all of these things, they couldn't connect the dots, yeah. So anyway, I have this picture of Obama playing golf at the Kaneohe Marine Corps golf course. You know, for me, it would be very easy to go over there and yell and scream, you know, and get all upset. But I think there's another way, and we already tried it. There was a small circle of us who got together, and we said, why don't we have a day for the military families? We're going to invite them to have food with us, to break bread, yeah, and for us to get to meet them. And we invited them, the families, including their children, to come. And we told them, we're going to tell your children a little bit about the history of Mokapu and all the different name places, yeah? And also, we would teach them a little hula, you know, so that they could learn about, you know, our style of communicating too is just not by mouth, but with our body, you know, with our arms, with our feet, with our hips, you know, we do the hula. And so it was a time to, you know, have the opportunity for them not to be scared. A lot of them, they're kind of scared of us, you know. I wonder why. You know, no, and it's like, you know, it's better to have, you know, this idea of finding peace among each other, not war, you know, but peace. So anyway, that's my mo'olelo, and thank you very much for listening. And if you guys have any questions, we're mahalo.